You may be a little good at leaving things halfway, running from one side to the other, torturing yourself, and telling yourself that you have to be more of a perfectionist, but what happens in reverse when being a perfectionist turns you into someone meticulous and neurotic, and you don't even sleep? Well, let's talk about the advantages and disadvantages of perfectionism, whether we should pursue it or not. Dona María and Rojas, this time our psychiatrist and author of Find Your Vitamin Personality and How to Make Good Things Happen to You. María, good morning. Good morning, Christina. It's such a joy to discuss interesting topics that can be useful for our listeners in their day-to-day lives. Is perfectionism a virtue or a mistake? Well, many people have been raised with the idea of perfectionism, with extreme demands, not being able to make mistakes, and having to excel in everything they do, whether it's organizing a birthday party, writing a book, teaching a class, completing a doctoral thesis, decorating the house, or keeping the kitchen tidy and dressing your children perfectly. In other words, we have different reasons for being perfectionists. The thing is, today's life demands a lot. We need to be everywhere, we have to excel in our family life, we have to balance our professional work, and it seems like we have to do everything exceptionally well. But perfection isn't always perfect, and I want to explain this to you, Christina, because it's very important. Perfection isn't always perfect. I love that phrase. In other words, constantly seeking perfection can make us ill. It can make us so sick that we even start to somatize, because by definition, a perfectionist lives in alert mode. They don't rest, they don't relax their minds, they're always on high alert, perceiving threats because they need to find flaws and faults in their surroundings. I remember a patient from a few years ago who was working on her doctoral thesis for 6 years. She was excessively perfectionistic. I kept telling her every month, "You need to finish the thesis, María." But her response was, "Look, María, it's like a new article every week. There's an update on this topic." So, I asked her to give me the thesis to read. What I did was take it to my bookbinder, put her name on it, and called the thesis advisor, whom I happened to know. I told him that we need to have a conversation, and in front of him, we handed in the doctoral thesis. I said, "If there are any mistakes, you can start healing here. If not, in 20 years, you'll still have not submitted your doctoral thesis." The perfectionist is a big cortisol producer, and consequently, they somatize their stress. This can manifest as back pain, digestive issues, sleep problems, anxiety, thyroid problems, skin issues like inflammation, headaches, or migraines. Because when your body doesn't allow itself to rest or make mistakes, you're constantly suffering. Now, some people might ask, "Marian, why am I a perfectionist?" Because I identify with what you're saying, that being a perfectionist means seeking everything to be very well done, and if it's not done that way, we suffer from a constant sense of dissatisfaction in our lives. Firstly, it might be because you come from a family of perfectionists. Your parents could have been highly successful individuals or very authoritarian people, or they may have demanded a high standard of excellence from you. You grew up in this environment, and as a result, your inner voice, as we've discussed on previous occasions and as I explain in How to Make Good Things Happen to You, is constantly telling you that it's not good enough, you could improve it, make it better organized, and so on. Instead of enjoying what's in front of you, your mind is focused on the tiny imperfections that prevent everything from being absolutely perfect. This is one of the key characteristics of a perfectionist. Organizing an event and constantly worrying about what didn't go well can be a significant source of suffering. Perfectionists who are not aware of this aspect tend to suffer a great deal because, in reality, nothing is perfect, and life doesn't come with a guarantee of perfection. We need to learn that sometimes we make mistakes, and it's okay not to achieve perfection all the time. It's about accepting and forgiving ourselves, and recognizing that sometimes, despite our best efforts, internal or external factors can prevent things from going exactly as planned. This acceptance is crucial for relaxation. I mean, a person who is always on edge and tense can change. That's the idea. But in order to change something, you need insight, the ability to realize that this is one of your traits. Otherwise, I have several perfectionists in my practice who tell me, "María, I simply have to do everything well because in this life, if you don't do everything well, you're mediocre." In these cases, you need to gently and lovingly help them understand that the extent to which they've taken this mindset is causing somatization or leading to a state of sadness or anxiety. Once that person realizes they have a perfectionist mindset that constantly keeps them in a state of alertness and doesn't allow them to make mistakes, we can start to make changes. The first step is to identify the cause of this perfectionism. I mentioned one cause being parents who were perfectionists, but another cause could be growing up in an environment where you only received praise when you did things well. Due to the innate human need for love and acceptance, you felt compelled to excel in everything you did to receive that affection. It can sometimes be a complex issue to address in therapy, as we need to deactivate these mental processes that have developed over time. Conversely, if you were humiliated as a child, treated poorly, or ignored, and attention and praise were only given to those who achieved good grades or excelled in sports or other activities at school, it could also lead to perfectionist tendencies. You might be seeking to excel in everything because you carry the wound of humiliation, or it could be because you've lived as a person with very low self-esteem, and you don't love yourself enough. So, you seek to compensate for that part of yourself you don't like by trying to be excessively good. This can manifest in people who become obsessed with their weight, appearance, or how they dress. Why? Because it fills the void in other aspects of their lives, particularly in their physical appearance. When you've traced the origin and understand whether this perfectionism is acquired due to past wounds or because of low self-esteem, you can start addressing it. Some individuals realize that by demanding a lot from themselves, they can achieve more in life, and that's true. However, this constant struggle to reach perfection can sometimes lead to the development of illnesses. Therefore, it's important to work on building self-esteem and managing your inner voice. How do you treat yourself when, for example, you're working on your thesis, preparing a meal for friends, organizing your child's birthday party, writing a book, preparing a school lesson, or compiling a report for your boss? Are you the type who says, well, if we're talking about perfectionists, we're not discussing those who procrastinate. I'll stay up until 3 in the morning and keep reviewing it because I don't think it's right. You enter that negative loop where nothing satisfies you. This is when you need to realize that sometimes you have to say, enough is enough. I always say that on a scale of 0 to 10, with 10 being perfection, perfectionists should aim for an 8.5 or 9. In the world of perfectionists, 8 and 9 is a day for regular people. Remind yourself of the wise saying that perfection is the enemy of the good. Life should be about aspiring to the good, not obsessing over perfection. This is crucial to understand.